They tell you flak looks like popcorn. Little black puffs in the sky, almost pretty from a distance. That's what they told us in training anyway. They never mentioned the sound, the crack of the explosions, the rattle of shrapnel hitting aluminum, the screaming of hydraulics when a line gets cut, the gurgling sounds men make when their oxygen masks fill with blood. I'm Staff Sergeant Thomas Edward Harrigan, waist gunner on a B-24 Liberator named Lucky 13, 23 years old, from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Coal miner's son who joined the Army Air Forces to get away from the mines, to see the sky instead of darkness. Thought I was so damn smart, trading the earth for the air. Turns out there are different kinds of darkness. I got to England in March of '43, assigned to the 8th Air Force 392nd Bomb Group stationed at Wendling. The B-24 wasn't as famous as the B-17. Everyone loved the Flying Fortress, but the Liberator could carry more bombs, fly faster, go farther. She was a working girl, a truck built to haul ordnance into Germany and come back. Usually came back anyway. Our crew was tight. 10 men living and flying together, trusting each other with our lives every time we went up. Lieutenant Marcus Webb from Georgia, our pilot, cool as ice, never showed fear even when he should have. Lieutenant James Park, co-pilot from Oregon, always making jokes even at 25,000 feet with flak bursting around us. Sergeant Michael O'Brien, our navigator from Boston, could find his way through clouds and smoke and chaos. Sergeant William Billy Santos, bombardier from New Mexico, had an eye like a hawk. The radio operator, ball turret gunner, tail gunner, other waist gunner. We were a family crammed into aluminum and plexiglass and hope. Lucky 13 was already a veteran when I joined her crew. She had missions painted on her nose, little bomb symbols, 12 of them. The crew before us had finished their tour. All survived. That's where the name came from. 13 missions to finish a tour, and she'd brought them all home. Lucky. We believed it. Had to believe in something. My first 5 missions were milk runs. France, mostly. Some flak, not too bad. A few fighters, but our escorts kept them off. I thought maybe I'd gotten lucky. Maybe the worst was behind us. Maybe I'd finish my 25 missions and go home and marry Helen and never think about the war again. Then they told us the target for July 25th, Hamburg. Hamburg wasn't just another target. It was Germany's second largest city, major port, industrial center, defended by hundreds of anti-aircraft guns and swarms of fighters. The Brits had been hitting it at night with incendiaries, burning whole neighborhoods. Now it was our turn. Daylight precision bombing, they called it. Hit the shipyards, the factories, the infrastructure. Hit them with us. Briefing was at 0400. We filed into the room, still half asleep, and saw the map with the red string stretching from England deep into Germany. Someone whistled low. We all knew. This was going to be bad. The intelligence officer laid it out. Expected flak, heavy and accurate. Expected fighter resistance, severe. Expected casualties, 20%. 1 in 5 planes wouldn't come back. We looked around at each other, doing the math. 200 bombers going out. 40 not coming home. 400 men. Lieutenant Webb squeezed my shoulder as we left briefing. Stay sharp, Tommy. Keep those guns singing. We geared up in the dark. Heated suits. It gets to 40 below at altitude. May vests, parachutes, flak jackets that weighed 40 pounds and wouldn't stop a direct hit anyway. I checked my guns, twin .50 calibers at the waist position. Loaded belts, checked mechanisms, said a prayer to a God I wasn't sure I believed in anymore. The crew bus took us to Lucky 13. She sat on the hard stand, dark and cold, waiting. The ground crew had loaded her, 8,000 pounds of bombs in the bay. Fuel tanks topped off, guns armed. She was ready to go to war. So were we, I guess, ready as we'd ever be. We took off at 0630, forming up over England. 200 bombers circling, finding their positions in the formation. B-24s and B-17, a sky full of aluminum glinting in the early light. Beautiful and terrible at the same time. All that firepower, all those bombs, all those men heading into hell. The Channel crossing was quiet. P-47 Thunderbolts escorted us part of the way, waggling their wings. Good luck, boys. Give 'em hell. Then they peeled off, not enough range to go all the way, and we were alone over occupied Europe. That's when you start seeing it. The first flak. Little black puffs appearing in the sky ahead. Popcorn, remember? Except each puff is shrapnel moving at thousands of feet per second, ready to punch through metal and flesh like paper. We hit the coast of Germany at 10:15. That's when the real flak started. Imagine the sky turning black. Not from weather, from explosions. Thousands of them. The Germans had radar-directed 88mm guns, 105mm guns, whole batteries firing in barrage patterns designed to fill a box of sky with metal. Our box of sky. The first burst hit close. Crack. The plane jumped. Shrapnel rattled against the fuselage like hail on a tin roof. Then another. Crack. Another. Crack. 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 Non-stop, all around us, the sky just tearing itself apart. I was at my waist gun, looking out at the formation. Saw a B-17 take a direct hit to the number 2 engine. It just exploded. Wing folded up. Plane rolled over and started down, spinning, trailing fire and smoke. Maybe some chutes, maybe not. Couldn't tell. No time to watch because another burst rocked us and I had to grab something to keep from falling. The flak was so thick you could see it. Black clouds filling the sky, expanding, overlapping, creating this lethal fog we were flying through. Each burst sent hundreds of metal fragments in all directions. Hot metal, sharp metal, metal that would cut through aluminum, through flesh, through bone. Lieutenant Webb kept us straight and level. Had to for the bomb run. You can't evade on the bomb run. You fly straight and level and steady so the bombardier can line up on the target. Doesn't matter that the Germans know this. Doesn't matter that they concentrate their flak on the approach path. You fly straight. You hold steady. You die if you have to. Crack. A burst below us, close enough to lift the plane. Crack. One to the left. Crack. Right side, and I felt shrapnel punch through the fuselage inches from my head. Little holes appearing in the aluminum. Daylight streaming through. Cold air rushing in at 150 miles per hour. Billy Santos on the intercom. Bomb bay doors open. We were 2 minutes from target. 2 minutes of flying straight through this storm of steel. 2 minutes of being a target that couldn't dodge or weave or run. I saw another plane go down. B-24 from the group ahead of us. Took a direct hit in the nose. The plexiglass just disintegrated, and I could see, God help me, I could see, the bombardier and navigator get torn apart by the blast. The plane kept flying for a few seconds, pilot probably dead on the controls, then nosed over and dove straight down. "Steady," Webb said over the intercom. His voice was calm. How was his voice calm? 30 seconds. Crack, crack, crack. The flak was a solid wall now. I couldn't see individual bursts anymore, just this black, roiling mass we were flying through. The plane was shaking constantly from near misses. Holes appearing everywhere. Cold, so cold. And the smell, cordite, hot metal, hydraulic fluid, fear. Bombs away. I felt the plane jump as 8,000 pounds dropped from the bay. Felt lighter. Felt hope. We could turn now, get out of this, run for home. But we weren't clear yet. The turn-off target was chaos. 200 bombers all trying to get out of the flak box at once. Close formation. You had to stay close for mutual defense, but not so close you collided. All while flying through explosions and smoke and debris. A B-24 above us took a hit that blew off half its tail. The plane went into a flat spin, falling through our formation. We banked hard to avoid it. I watched it drop, spinning like a leaf, and saw 3 chutes bloom, 3 out of 10. The rest rode it down. The fighters came in as we left the target. Me-109S and FW-19OS diving through the bomber stream, cannons firing. Our formation tightened up. The B-24's best defense was firepower, overlapping fields of fire from dozens of .50 caliber guns. They called it the box of death. Any fighter that came through it had to run a gauntlet of bullets. A 109 made a head-on pass at our element. I swung my gun, tracking him, fired a burst. Saw my tracers and a dozen other streams converge on him. He exploded, just came apart in midair. First fighter I'd killed. Felt nothing about it. No triumph, no guilt. Just saw it happen and moved on, looking for the next one. But the flak kept coming. Even outside the target area, the Germans kept firing. They had flak towers, mobile batteries, guns positioned all along our route. Every city we passed, every industrial area, more flak. Black puffs following us like angry bees. That's when we took the bad hit. Crack. Louder than the others. Felt like someone hit the plane with a sledgehammer. The whole aircraft shuddered. Alarms started screaming. Webb on the intercom. Damage report. I looked back toward the tail. Holes, dozens of holes, big ones, and blood. Blood spraying in the slipstream, freezing instantly into red mist. Tail gunner's hit, someone shouted. Jesus, he's hit bad. The ball turret gunner, Sergeant Ray Williams from Detroit, tried to get back to help, but the catwalk over the bomb bay was damaged. Couldn't cross it. The tail gunner, Sergeant Eddie Morrison from Kentucky, kid with a wife and baby he'd never seen, was back there alone, bleeding, dying, and we couldn't reach him. His oxygen line was cut. At 25,000 feet without oxygen, you have maybe 30 seconds before you pass out. Then you die. Eddie's voice on the intercom, gasping. Can't breathe. Can't. Then nothing, just static. We couldn't help him, had to keep flying. Had to get the plane and the rest of the crew home. That's the math. 1 man dying versus 8 men surviving. You make the choice, even though it tears you apart inside. Another burst hit our number 3 engine. It coughed, sputtered, died. Webb feathered the prop, shut down the fuel. 3 engines now. The B-24 could fly on 3, but slower, lower, more vulnerable. We started falling behind the formation. That's when you're dead. Stragglers get picked off by fighters like wolves taking the weak from a herd. We needed to keep up, needed the formation's protection. Give me everything, Webb said. All 3 engines, full power. The engines screamed. We clawed our way back to the formation, closed the gap, slipped back into position. But we were wounded, bleeding fuel and hydraulic fluid, leaving a trail of smoke, and we still had 2 hours to the coast. We lost the formation over Holland. Number 2 engine started running rough, overheating. Had to reduce power. The formation pulled away from us, getting smaller, disappearing into the distance. We were alone. That's my breaking point. Watching the other planes fly away, knowing we were too slow, too damaged, too far behind. Watching them disappear, and knowing we were alone over occupied Europe in a shot-up bomber with 1 man already dead and the rest of us soon to follow. 2 FW-19s found us almost immediately. They'd been waiting, watching for stragglers. They came in from the rear quarter, cannons firing. I fired back. So did the other waist gunner, Sergeant Joe Kowalski from Chicago. So did the top turret. All of us firing, burning through ammunition, trying to keep them off. The plane shuddered with each cannon hit. More holes, more damage, more prayers that nothing vital got hit. One 190 broke off, smoking. Got him. But the other kept pressing, making pass after pass. He knew we were crippled. Knew he could take his time. Just keep hitting us until we went down. Webb was wrestling with the controls. The plane was getting harder to fly, hydraulics failing, control cables cut. We were losing altitude, 23,000 feet, 20,000, 18,000, going down slow, like a wounded bird trying to stay in the air. Number 2, engine quit. 2 engines now, half our power. We couldn't maintain altitude. The ground was getting closer and closer, and we were still over enemy territory. "We're not going to make it to England," Lieutenant Park said. His voice was steady, but we could all hear what he wasn't saying. We were going down. Question was where and how, and would we survive it? "We'll make it," Webb said. And somehow I believed him, had to believe him, because the alternative was dying over Holland and no one back home ever knowing what happened to us. The 190 made another pass. I fired, saw strikes on his wing. He rolled away. Maybe we'd hurt him enough. Maybe he was out of ammunition. Maybe God was finally paying attention. He didn't come back. We crossed the coast at 12,000 feet on 2 engines, trailing smoke and fuel. The plane barely responding to the controls. Eddie Morrison dead in the tail. The rest of us alive by sheer luck and nothing else. The North Sea was below us, cold, gray, unforgiving. If we went down here in the water, we'd freeze before any rescue could reach us. "Come on, 13, I whispered. "Come on, girl." Just a little farther. She flew, broken, bleeding, barely holding together, but she flew. We made it to England, crash-landed at the first airfield we saw, emergency strip on the coast. No gear, hydraulics were gone, belly landing in a crippled bomber. Webb put her down hard, but we walked away. 8 of us walked away. Eddie Morrison came home in a box. They counted over 300 holes in Lucky 13 that day. Flak damage, cannon strikes, everything. The ground crew said she'd never fly again. Too much damage, too much to repair. They salvaged what they could and scrapped the rest. So much for Lucky. I flew 16 more missions. Different plane, same war. Made it to 25. Finished my tour in December 43. They sent me home, gave me medals, called me a hero. I came back to Scranton, married Helen like I'd promised, got a job at the rail yard. Normal life, that's what they said. Get back to normal life. But how do you go back to normal when you've seen what I've seen? When you've watched men die at 25,000 feet, watched planes full of your friends explode or spin down in flames? When you've heard Eddie Morrison gasping for air on the intercom and couldn't do a goddamn thing to help him? The flak still wakes me up, not in my dreams, in real life. I'll be asleep, and suddenly I'm back in that waist gunner position, the sky turning black, the crack of explosions, the rattle of shrapnel. Helen shakes me awake, and I'm drenched in sweat, shaking, sometimes crying. She doesn't understand. How can she? She wasn't there. Nobody back home understands. They see the newsreels, bombers in formation, looking clean and organized and heroic. They don't see the blood, the fear, the chaos. They don't know what it's like to fly straight and level through a storm of steel, knowing you can't dodge, can't run, just have to sit there and take it and pray that the next burst has someone else's name on it. 20% casualties, they told us in briefing. Hamburg had worse. We lost 32 planes that day, 320 men. Some dead, some prisoners, some still missing. Eddie Morrison was one of over 100 men killed in action that day. Just numbers to the people planning the missions. But Eddie was real. He was 20 years old. He had a wife named Grace and a daughter named Mary he never got to meet. He loved baseball, wanted to be a coach after the war, used to tell stories about playing sandlot ball in Kentucky. He died alone in the tail of Lucky 13, choking on his own blood, while we flew on without him. That's what gets me. We left him back there. Had to, no choice, but we left him. And I can still hear his voice on the intercom. can't breathe. Those were his last words. Not goodbye, not tell my wife I love her, just can't breathe, and then silence. I see his daughter sometimes. Helen and I visit when we can. Mary's 5 now. Looks like her dad. I tell her Eddie was brave, that he died protecting his friends. All the things you're supposed to say. But what I can't tell her is that he died gasping for air while we flew on because the mission mattered more than one man's life. That's the truth they don't put in the newsreels. The bomber offensive, the daylight precision bombing campaign, it cost 26,000 American airmen killed. 26,000. Kids, most of them. 19, 20, 21 years old. They signed up to fly, to see the world, to serve their country. And they died in burning planes, or exploding planes, or planes that just broke apart in midair. They died from flak, from fighters, from mechanical failure, from running out of fuel over the North Sea. They died and died and died. We had to do it, they tell us. Had to break Germany's industrial capacity. Had to destroy their ability to make war. And maybe that's true. Maybe those bombing raids shortened the war, saved lives in the long run. But I remember the flak over Hamburg. I remember watching planes go down. I remember Eddie Morrison. I'm 24 years old, younger than I feel, older than I should be. I survived my tour, got back to normal life, married my girl, have a job, have a future. But part of me is still up there at 25,000 feet, flying through black clouds of flak, watching the sky tear itself apart, listening to Eddie's last breath over the intercom. They gave Lucky 13 credit for surviving 13 missions before I joined the crew. We were supposed to be mission 14, the unlucky one. Turns out luck doesn't mean what I thought it meant. 8 of us came home. That's lucky, I guess. But Eddie didn't, and neither did the 300 other men who died over Hamburg that day. And neither did the thousands of other airmen who never made it back. I can't watch fireworks anymore. The explosions, even harmless ones, put me right back in that waist gun position. Helen wanted to go to the 4th of July celebration last year. I tried. Made it 5 minutes before I had to leave, shaking so hard I could barely walk. She holds my hand now when there's thunder, when cars backfire, when anything sounds like flak. The coal mines my father worked, I used to be afraid of going down there, of the darkness and the enclosed spaces. Now I understand that there are different kinds of darkness. The darkness underground at least has walls you can touch. The darkness at 25,000 feet is infinite. No walls, no ground, just you and the flak and the fighters and the cold and the knowledge that you're probably going to die. Some of the crew stayed in touch. We get together once a year, those of us who can make it. Lieutenant Webb, Lieutenant Park, a couple of the others. We drink. We remember. We don't talk much about Hamburg. Don't need to. It's there in the silences, in the way we all flinch at loud noises, in the way we can't quite meet each other's eyes when we toast to absent friends. Eddie Morrison, Ray Williams, died 3 missions after Hamburg when his ball turret took a direct hit. Billy Santos finished his tour but got killed in a training accident 2 weeks before he was supposed to go home. Joe Kowalski made it all the way through, survived the war, came home, and walked in front of a train in 1945. Accident, they said. I don't think it was. This is what I want people to know about the bombing campaign. We did what we had to do, flew the missions, dropped the bombs, fought the war. But it cost us friends and pieces of our souls, and the ability to ever feel truly safe again. Every mission was Russian roulette. Every takeoff might be your last. Every burst of flak might have your name on it. We called ourselves the Lucky 13 crew, believed in it, trusted in it, and it kept most of us alive. But luck is just statistics wearing a mask. 8 out of 10 isn't luck, it's odds. And Eddie Morrison ended up on the wrong side of those odds. I survived the Flak over Hamburg, survived my tour, came home. But I'm still up there sometimes, in my head, watching the sky turn black with explosions, feeling the plane shake with each near miss, hearing the crack of flak bursting all around us, still hearing Eddie's voice on the intercom, still flying through that storm of steel, praying the next burst misses, knowing that one day, for someone, it won't. The war's been over for 8 years. I'm supposed to move on, get over it. But how do you get over something that's carved into your bones? How do you forget the sound of men dying? How do you stop hearing the flak? You don't. You just learn to live with it. Learn to function around the holes it left in you. Learn to smile and nod when people thank you for your service, even though you know they can't possibly understand what that service cost. Lucky 13 is scrap metal now. Eddie Morrison is bones in a grave in Pennsylvania. The rest of us are walking around, breathing, living. But we all left something over Hamburg that day. Left it in that flak-filled sky, in that crippled bomber, in the screaming engines and the thin air and the knowledge that we were probably going to die. We didn't die. Most of us didn't. But we didn't all come home either. None of us really did.